Well, Commissioner May, Commissioners, good morning. It's 11:30.
All right. We'll get started. Director Wong, you've got a special introduction for us.
Yes, I do. Commissioners, it's my honor to introduce a tremendous addition to the ITD staff, their new COO, Dan McElhinney, and he has very graciously agreed to just introduce himself to the Commission this morning. So Dan, over to you, please.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Director Wong. I really appreciate this opportunity. I'm Dan McElhinney. I'm your new Chief Operations Officer here at ITD. And recently, Director Wong and I had a good meeting, doing some planning together, and I'm really looking forward to working with all of you. I've got over 30 years from the California DOT, and from planning through design, environmental, maintenance, construction, over 20 years of executive management experience. So I bring that here in support of Brian Ness and the excellent ITD executive team and senior leadership team. My responsibilities include mentoring and coaching the 6 district engineers, the chief engineer, and the chief of construction and operations, which is maintenance and traffic. But a big part of what I've learned over the years, and I was telling the Colonel, was it's local, state, and federal partnerships that make transportation happen for our communities in the state. So I'm very proud to be a part of the team here in Idaho with you. And I want to thank you for your leadership in transportation. Being a resident now in Ada County, I know the importance of having, focused on transportation for our communities and in teamwork with our highway department. And as Bruce and I talked about too, it's partnerships, teamwork, communications, planning ahead, but also being ready for emergency situations together. At the same time with, our aging infrastructure here in the county, as well as on highways throughout the state. We've got to really do our best to educate on aging infrastructure, the growing needs of transportation with the growth in population, as well as the impacts overall of really supporting the economy moving forward. And that's us all working together and being results oriented and finding ways to educate decision makers on potential future investment needs and where best to put available funds that may occur for us here in the county as well as statewide. So the Colonel and I talked about the importance of that partnership moving forward as well. I've had a chance to work with many MPOs in large counties. I was Chief Deputy Director in the San Francisco Bay Area, working closely with Metropolitan Transportation Commission covering 9 counties. I also worked with the San Francisco County and Alameda County, which is the Oakland area, and Santa Clara County, and the 9 counties of the Bay Area, and the 3 MPOs in the valley from Stockton to Merced. We had opportunities to really make a difference in support of their boards and their commissions. So I bring that experience in support of ACHD. Also, I was a commissioner on the Bay Conservation Development Commission for 6 years and a commissioner on the Delta Protection Commission the last couple of years. So I know the importance of your role and hopefully how best to support you and support you overall as a commission and working together. So and maybe to wrap up, I've been married over 32 years. My youngest, Daniel, just started as a freshman at CU Boulder in environmental design. And our daughter, Priscilla, graduated UCLA a couple years ago and works at Cedar Sinai. So we're going to be doing a lot of rafting, a lot of hiking, a lot of mountain biking here in Idaho moving ahead. So I'm really glad to be here and really glad to be part of this partnership with the Colonel and with all of you.
Thank you. Well, Dan, on behalf of the Commission, welcome to Idaho. We look forward to working with you. We had the pleasure of getting a first introduction at the Compass board meeting the other day as well. So really appreciate how you're going around and introducing yourself to everyone. So welcome.
Thank you. Yeah, and I look forward to meeting with the Colonel on a regular basis. And if you'll have me, I'll stop in maybe quarterly and just say hello with an update from ITD as well.
Very good. Commissioners, any comments or questions for Dan while he's here with us? All right. Hearing none, Director Wong, back to you. And Dan, thank you again and welcome.
Yeah, again, thank you, Dan.
Madam Chair. Thank you, Director Wong. Thank you all.
Okay.
All right, we're just a few minutes early, but we might as well just roll into our pre-commission agenda.
Commissioner, Madam President, if I could.
Go ahead.
I would like to, we've had a request from a citizen to move consent agenda item number 2 to, I'd like to move it to the regular agenda item number 4 with the Commission's concurrence.
All right, I certainly have no objection. All right, thank you, Director Wong. That will be placed on our regular agenda.
Madam President?
Commissioner Baker?
Yeah,
Commissioner
I'd
Baker?
also like to, on the work session, move the second item on ADA first. Because I don't think it's going to take that long, and we should, I think people will be more interested in that.
All right, I would have no objection to that. Commissioners, any comments? All right. Thank you, Commissioner Baker. All right, Director Wong?
Okay, thank you. Commissioners, again, good morning. I have a few items I'd like to share with you today. First off, as I believe you know, we have received the specific guidance for the governor's office, from the governor's office on how to apply for the Strong Families, Strong Students grant, and we have shared this with all of our team members. As you recall, this is the governor's initiative to provide grants to families to cope with the increased financial burden of the current school challenges, which continue to evolve, that many families, ACHD families, are facing. So the open period started today. We'll continue to brief our team members and keep you posted on how this goes. Today, as you know, you are scheduled to review the proposed Fairview design concept that includes our recommendation on a safer approach to protected bike and pedestrian lanes. We believe that this should be considered as the standard for specific high-volume projects, and we are moving to incorporate the Fairview protected bike and pedestrian concept into the upcoming 10-mile Victory to Overland, Locust Grove Victory to Overland, and the Eagle Lake Hazel intersection projects for your future review and approval. These projects are currently estimated to cost combined about $20 million. And as with the Fairview project, which you'll be briefed on today, our protected bike lane and pedestrian concept may also save additional dollars in the long run on those 3 projects. So again, I just want to give you, I talked to you yesterday about this, but just so you know, again, we're very excited about this, and so we're going to, in design, move forward with that concept on those 3 major projects. For flu shots, we provided 135 team members with the shots on our campus, and we will look to see what the final numbers are when we include off-campus vaccinations and such. Again, very, very important this year to do that. So to update you on a few items for each of the organizations, begin with the Chief of Staff again. ACHD's commuter ride alternate transportation routes continue to service 68 very successful routes while supporting 320 passengers on a daily basis. Of note, we are currently in discussions with Basin to add an additional 12 or 13 vans to support their winter operations. This would be huge. In September, your commuter ride operations displaced 323,905 single vehicle miles, and as such, removed 254 tons of carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. Our annual audit continues in both inventory and federal aid projects, with all projections currently pointing to great results for the part of this for this part of this month-long annual audit that we go through. For communications, in September, we received 224 teleces and answered 78% of them within 1 week, regardless of the impact our COVID-19 precautions and new operations have had that consistently challenge the staff. To date, we have received and answered 2,439 teleces for 2020 with an average 1 week turnaround of 86%. That is amazing for the staff to be able to accomplish that. ACHD's website had 23,930 interactive sessions, which is up from the 16,000 in August. And the website received 53,692 views, up from last month's 37,000, with 50% new customers and 50% returning customers. And we ended September with 5,075 likes, which is up from last month's 4,242 likes. Commissioners, you're obviously doing something great. For HR, we ended the FY with 73 hires, slightly above our annual average of 66 per year. The year-to-date work-related personal injuries and accidents stand at 6, which is up from last month by 1, and our not-to-exceed goal is 8 for the year. And as you recall, this is not a fiscal, this is an annual, so we track through December when it comes to accidents. Year-to-date vehicle accidents remain at 2 for the entire year, and our not-to-exceed goal is 8. Team member retention rate stands at 92%, and compliance and safety training continues at 99% complete. Harassment prevention and diversity training continues at 99%. For legal, our September public records request turnaround was 2.8 days, which is down from last month's 3.1 days. And our legal turnaround time, task turnaround time was 4.8 days, down from the 8.4 days last month. I believe the general counsel is just driving them crazy in there to get all this done. To date, we have collected $62,683.88 in restitutions. For maintenance, the total maintenance cost per centerline mile for July was $15,725 or $7,436 per lane mile. Again, we filled 100% of the 48 potholes reported in September. Within 24 hours year to date, your maintenance team has filled 1,604 potholes, all within 24 hours of notification. And again, the ACHE's Sheriff's Labor Detail contributed 1,166 hours of support in September. And as you know, this partnership saves the taxpayers over $195,000 a year by partnering with the Sheriff's area. ACHE duck saves remain at 18 at this point year to date. For development and technical services, again, a rather long list of accomplishments, but something that I do want to always share with you based on the tremendous job that they are doing, even in the face of the challenges that the COVID-19 pandemic has offered ACHD. So year to date, under Gary Inselman's leadership, we have completed 1,042 plan submittals, assessed 184 commercial impact fees, issued 5,022 permits, held 118 subdivision pre-construction briefings, completed 988 development applications, finalized 6,830 line locations, worked 719 signal trouble calls and 259 after-hour calls. We have striped 2,375.8 lane miles, and we've completed 785 pavement markings, crosswalks. We've installed 12,800 reflective pavement markers and made 2,403 traffic signs. We've installed 4,717 traffic signs, so you can, again, goes to growth. We've worked 481 traffic signal trouble calls. We completed 686 traffic investigations. We've issued 517 traffic engineering work orders. We've reviewed 4,755 traffic control and 111 special events permits. And we've implemented 952 new signal timing plans and adjusted 612 signal supporting events and incidents. And finally, we've posted 3,222 incidents on the ACHD website. Our signal service rate stands again at 99.99% with 30 signals out for 26.5 hours in September. Of note, 92.4% of ACHD's principal arterials are at a level of service E or better. Additionally, we have received our annual pavement assessment, and once again, Ada County ACHD enjoys the best roads in Idaho, and we're in the top tier of the Northwest. Finally, I have shared the proposed bulb-out decision matrix with our PAG, and they've made comments. We're reviewing those comments, and we'll have them back out to you here in the near future, so we can hopefully institute this the bulb-out decision tree for capital maintenance type projects here in the very near future, based on your concurrence when we bring it to you. For plans and projects, again, regardless of the COVID-19 challenges, we are projecting a 95% expenditure execution rate for FY20 projects. This is reflective of the outstanding staff efforts to accomplish this in the constant face of this changing environment. As with last month's update, 20 of our most expensive projects are in the green. The average pavement condition index remains at the very top good category, with 2 arterial lane miles out of 1,147, 3 collector miles, which is down from the 5 last month, out of 695, and 25 residential lane miles out of 3,203 in the poor category. That's not bad. Year to date, we have completed 11 safe routes to school projects, which is up from 9 from last month, for a total of 102 since 2009. Year to date, we have repaired 11,928 linear feet of sidewalk and 126 pedestrian ramps. Year to date, we have built 54,037 linear feet of new sidewalks and 251 new pedestrian ramps at a cost of $3,323,215.40 in September. We have established 337.25 bike lane miles, with 206 of those in Boise. And right-of-way has cleared an additional, for the year, 200 parcels year to date. So in summary, Commissioners, your team continues to meet and exceed your 7 operational requirements. And with that report, I stand for any questions you might have.
Thank you, Director Wong. Impressive update. Kudos to our team for the exceptional work they do day in and day out there for the district. So much appreciated. Commissioners, any comments or questions for Director Wong?
Yes, Madam President.
Commissioner Goldthorpe.
I enjoyed the report very much, without seeming too biased, especially the part about adopting some of the pedestrian and bicycle infrastructure changes and defaults that you mentioned for instance, the 10-mile project and some of the other large projects. That is awesome.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Any other comments or questions for Director Wong? All right, hearing none. Thank you very much, Director Wong.
Thank you.
Do you have any additional information you want to share? No.
You have about 10 minutes, Commissioner.
All right, thank you very much.
It's just slow.
Whose is it? Who's going to present? I'll present.
If we do that now, we'll lose for the Zoom on the start of the meeting.
In other words, you can't presentation here, one from home?
You can, but we have to
bring it
look.
up before we start.
Oh.
He's presenting from home.
Good morning. Is Stacy available? I don't think she's there. Okay. Here we go, Morgan.
Commissioner May, it is 12 p.m.
All right, thank you very much. Welcome, everyone. I will now call our October 21st commission meeting to order. And Director Wong, if you would please lead us in the pledge.
If you'd all stand and follow me, please.
Commissioner meeting
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America,
of the United States of
the
America.
republic for which
and
it stands,
to the republic for which it
one
stands,
nation,
one
under God,
nation,
indivisible,
under God,
with
indivisible,
liberty and justice
with
for all.
liberty and justice for all. All right, before we start, I just want to remind everyone, if you could please mute your microphone, that would be helpful. And we want to start today's meeting by recognizing another outstanding member of our team. And today we are recognizing Shalene Starkey. She's ACHD's account clerk for her outstanding work during ACHD's budget closeout and our annual audit. As you can imagine, these are both huge annual undertakings and both require the greatest of effort and dedication to ensure that the taxpayers' dollars are effectively and efficiently allocated. Shalane's unwavering professionalism, commitment to the Ada County taxpayers, and her passion for excellence have been and continue to be the key in ACHD's success in this very important aspect of our operation. Please join me in thanking Shalane for an excellent job well done. Thank you. All right, our first order of business is to adopt our agenda. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
All right,
And seconded.
all right, we have a motion with a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, next is our consent agenda. Items on the consent agenda are considered to be routine and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion on these items unless a commissioner or a citizen so requests, in which case the item will be removed from the consent agenda and placed on the regular agenda. All consent agenda items are commission action items unless noted. Commissioners, is there a motion?
Madam President, I move approval of the consent agenda, moving item number 2 to item number 4 on the regular agenda.
Second that.
All right, thank you. All right, we have a motion with a second. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. All right, thank you very much. All right, to our regular agenda. The first item on our regular agenda today is Fairview Avenue, Locust Grove to Eagle Road, the proposed bicycle facility, and this is a request for approval, and we will be hearing from Brian McCarthy. Brian, welcome. Welcome back, I should say.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. I'm Brian McCarthy, the project manager for the Fairview Avenue, Locust Grove Road to Eagle Road project. And this is a decision briefing on the bike facility for the project. Staff is seeking Commission approval on the proposed elevated bikeway design for the Fairview Avenue, Locust Grove Road to Eagle Road project. A little history on how we got to this point. We had the first online open house for the project back in June. That was with the concept design displays. At that time, we had a on-street buffered bike lane shown as the bike facility for the proposed design. At the July 22nd and September 2nd work sessions, we briefed you on the results from that open house. It was the September 2nd work session where we discussed coming up with an alternative bike facility for the proposed project corridor. And then just last week, I was here before you for the work session to show you that alternative design for the bike facility. This display is the same display and typical section that was shown last week at the work session, where we have taken the bike lane off of the roadway surface and brought it raised up above the curb. So it is currently sitting 6 inches above the vertical curb, or above the roadway on the curb and adjacent to and at the same grade as the sidewalk. It is a 5-foot one-way bike lane that is separated between the curb and the bike lane with a 2-foot buffer strip. And we have a 5-foot sidewalk with a 2-foot buffer strip adjacent to that. I will point out that the right-of-way footprint of this proposed bike facility, it fits within the same footprint that we had previously with the on-street buffered bike lane. This is the intersection display, and I just want to point out that as well as the Fairview Avenue legs, we are proposing to place this on the Locust Grove legs of the intersection. And for the roadway segment, I want to point out that east of Hickory on the south side of the road, previously we did not have improvements from Hickory to Eagle Road on the south side, as it was already built out to its sufficient amount of travel lanes and bike lane. However, since we are modifying the bike facility and sidewalk, we are now going to continue that all the way through to Eagle Road. The staff is recommending the commission approve the proposed elevated bikeway design for the Fairview Avenue Locust Grove to Eagle project. We feel this is a cost-effective approach to provide a safer alternative for bicycles and pedestrians for the project. I stand for any comments or questions.
All right, thank you very much, Brian. We appreciate it. Commissioners, any questions or comments, please, for Brian?
Yeah, Madam President.
Commissioner Hanson.
Yeah, thanks, Brian. Last week during the work session, you presented the sort of a timetable of when we were going to take this out to the public and get comments on to the public, to the businesses, to the Bike Advisory Committee. My assumption is that's basically what we're approving here is just this concept and then float it out there to the public to get more input. Is that correct?
That's correct. We were planning on proceeding with our preliminary design, the 75% design, and then having a second open house at that stage. It'll likely be this spring, around April of 2021 is when we anticipate having that.
So I guess my question is, couldn't we take this at the design phase that it is now and get that input? I know this is significant. But it'll cost, I don't know what the cost will be to go to 75% design between now and then. Because this hasn't been, as it were, vetted through our Bike Advisory Committee, through the Fairview Business Corridor, through all these other interests that might want some input onto it. So that my question is, will we spending a lot of money on developing a design that we may need to change with their input since the time frame when we said let's get something better on the drawing board, and today it's been fairly short, and so it really hasn't been vetted out there in the rest of the world.
Madam President. Madam President, Dave
Go ahead,
Wallace,
Mr. Wallace.
Deputy Director of Plans and Projects. Mr. Hanson, what we plan to do is a slight alteration of the schedule. The reason we've come back today is that you, the commission, requested that we come back with an alternative to the on-street buffered bike lanes in this busy corridor. And we needed your approval because you directed us to do so. So this is not really going to affect the schedule that we're undertaking now. And I'm really not sure what the question that you may have for us beyond that is.
I guess what's the cost between now and the time we take the 75% design to the public in the spring? What's the cost that we'll be paying? What's the price?
Madam President, Mr. Hanson, this is the cost that we would be undertaking with the design of the project as it is. In other words, we're here to get your head nod that we can proceed with this, and we have typical times in the development of this that we will do a direction check. But before we proceed to 75% design, we need to know if this is an acceptable level 3 treatment for this segment.
Right. And I guess before we can proceed to say this is an acceptable level of treatment, we need that input from the people who advise us, our Bike Advisory Committee, Pedestrian Advisory Committee. So I know we've reached this on other projects where we pretty much put all the money into design, and it's really hard to change it once we've had more public input in the process. But because we've now made a significant change to what we took to the public this summer, we really need to go back and say this is what is. So I don't see the rush trying to figure this out. So whether we have to.
Madam President?
Commissioner Arnold, please.
Thank you. I agree with Commissioner Hanson. I think before we approve this to go any further along with design, that we do need to take this proposal back out to the public and to our pedestrian and bicycle advisory committees.
Madam President?
Commissioner Goldthorpe.
Thank you. I would put forth that the reason we're here today and the reason we saw this a week ago is because that's already been done on an informal basis. We received all kinds of communications from people who wanted to see this, and so we are producing this. And I don't think we need to delay anything beyond what the normal schedule is to have this approved. Those folks that we're going to have approve or modify this are seeing it today. They saw it last week, and there's all kinds of time right now for this to be discussed and for suggestions to be made without spending any more money. I think we're good. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Goldthorpe.
Madam President?
Commissioner Baker, please.
Yes, thank you. I agree with Commissioner Goldthorpe. I think this is something that needs to move forward. I cannot imagine any input that we would receive that would want us to go back to the way it was, which was to have a 5-lane bike lane next to 7 lanes of traffic. It just doesn't pass the smell test. This is an incredibly safer design. It's something that we've talked about a number of times in the past. I'm sure that both the Pedestrian Advisory Committee and the Bike Advisory Committee have discussed this type of scenario on more than one occasion. So, you know, one of our problems, and I'm going to be talking about this on one of the later items, is that we seem to drag these projects out in a very, very long time frame, which I don't think helps anybody. So I agree with Commissioner Goldthorpe. We should move ahead with this. And if he wants to make the motion to do that, I would second it.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Baker. I would agree as well. This project came to us. We had a lot of input about the unsafe design of the bike lanes. We responded to that. We took the input that we had received. Brian has gone back and forth several times now. They've inputted the changes. We have gotten a lot of nods from the bike and pedestrian population out there that they were thankful that we had made these changes. So at this point, I think they need our approval to move forward. And so I would agree with Commissioner Baker and Commissioner Goldthorpe.
Madam President?
Commissioner Goldthorpe.
In that case, may I make a motion that we approve the proposed elevated bikeway design for Fairview Avenue, Locust Grove to State Highway 55?
All right, we have a motion. Is there a second? All right. We have a motion with a second. Any further discussion?
I just want to comment that while I think we got the bike lane pretty much right, we still have the issue of, do we really need 7 lanes of traffic? We still have issues of access to business. So there's other issues. And I think allowing this particular concept without spending any more money to continue to be vetted. And I sat in on the Bike Advisory Committee last week, and it wasn't on the agenda. So the opportunities to look through this, I don't know that why we need, what the rush is to spend the money, knowing that we might get other input, and we need to change it. So I just don't see the rush to spend the money.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Hanson.
Madam President?
Any further discussion? Commissioner Arnold, please.
I do agree that this elevated bikeway design is much safer than what we saw before, so I'm going to go along with the majority on this and let this go forward.
All right, thank you. Any further comments? All right, commissioners, you have the item before you. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
All right, thank you very much. Motion carries. Brian, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, the next item on our agenda is the 2020 Master Street Map Update, request for adoption. And we will hear from Edinson Bautista. Welcome, Edinson.
Madam President, I have a comment before we get started,
Oh.
if I may.
Certainly, Commissioner Arnold.
Actually, I'd like to ask that we delay this item. I'm aware of a couple of individuals who would like to testify in regard to this, and I think it needs to be moved to a night meeting in order to afford them the opportunity to do that. We also have a gentleman here in the auditorium today who wanted to testify on this item, and he's been told that he would not be allowed to testify in person unless the commission approves it. So I think there's no rush on this item. I think it needs to be delayed to a night meeting in order to afford citizens an ample opportunity to testify.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Arnold. I had just had the name of one individual forwarded to me that wanted to comment, and they were certainly told that they could. So I'm not sure who was told that they would not be able to comment. Commissioner Goldthorpe?
Yeah, I have one question, and I'm not sure who's going to answer it, but some time ago now when we were discussing the CIP, there were some comments made and questions answered where in order to change some CIP items, there had to be some changes on the master street map and vice versa. Is going ahead with the master street map going to impede anything at all with the conversation we have about the CIP next year in the spring, late winter?
Madam President,
Mr. Wallace, please.
Madam President, Mr. Goldthorpe, short answer is no, this will not impede it. In fact, part of the presentation you'll see is this is in Congress with the CIP that you just adopted, the changes.
Cool, thank you.
Sir.
Madam President?
Commissioner Baker?
Yeah, I don't have any problem moving this a week to the night meeting on, I guess it's the next week's meeting. So
Right.
I would move that we defer this for 1 week.
All right, thank you.
I'll second
Commissioners,
that.
we have a motion.
I'll
All right,
second
we have
that.
we have a motion with 2 seconds.
Yeah, all right.
Any further discussion?
Madam President,
Commissioner Hanson?
yeah, I'd like to see this deferred until it can incorporate the Warm Springs request that is unanimously been adopted by the Barber Valley Neighborhood Association, and I believe they're here to speak to that. And the city has adopted it or approved it, but they haven't adopted the ordinance. I think there's some process that may be holding it up. So I think we should make the change altogether. And if we're not ready to make it next week, still not ready, we will just hold off until we're ready to make it. But we need to incorporate we gave a very clear indication to the neighborhood. This is the process you take, and they did it. And they proceeded it, and I think the master street map should reflect the unanimous view that that it needs to be amended to reflect that.
All right, thank you, Commissioner.
I'd love to hear from the neighborhood association today, but if they come back next week, we may hear the same thing.
Right. All right,
Madam
thank you.
President?
Thank you, Commissioner Hanson. We do have a motion before us, so discussion, Commissioner Goldthorpe.
Yes, Jim just intimated that there was something going on at the city level, which could be important to this consideration. Is anyone here from the city that could answer that question to help us in our attempt to maybe defer it to the right time?
Well, right now, I think we can move forward on our motion, Commissioner Goldthorpe, to defer this item, and then we can certainly reach out to the city and make sure that all interested parties are aware of the deferment and the date going forward.
Okay, well, what Jim intimated was that we might have to defer it again because of the timeline for the city process. So hating redundancy as I do, I just was hoping we could figure out what that timeline might be.
Understood. So commissioners, you have this motion before you. Any further discussion on it?
Well, Madam President,
Yes?
Madam President?
Yes, Commissioner
Okay.
Baker?
Am I on?
Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry about this. We have a week. If the city comes back and asks for a deferral, we can always have the staff take it off the agenda. So let's just
Exactly.
move it a week and then play it by ear.
That's my sentiment. All right,
Okay.
thank you.
Thanks.
All right, any
Madam-
further
Madam-
discussion? Yes,
Madam
Commissioner
President,
Hanson.
I just want to make it clear, I would like to see Warm Springs addressed next week in the update to the master street map. So it wouldn't be this particular item as it is, it would actually be an amended version of what we're seeing in front of us.
All right, noted. Thank you, Commissioner Hanson. All right, commissioners, you have a motion before you. We will call for the decision. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right, thank you. All right, next item. Edison, thank you very much. It was good to see you. Is Oakwind Estates Subdivision Development Agreement Modification. And Mindy Wallace. Is Mindy here too?
Madam President,
Or
as I
Director
believe, I
Wong?
hope I briefed you all yesterday, but there will be no staff presentation on this. This is a request by the commission to have a little additional language added to the end of the staff summary sheet. You've seen all those, so what we're requesting from you all is are we good to go in sending that out? That's
to go
all.
ahead?
Yes,
All
ma'am.
right,
Thank you.
thank you. Thank you. Commissioners, you heard Director Wong. You've seen the language that was inserted. Do we have a motion?
Madam Chair?
Madam President, I have a question.
Commissioner Arnold?
We may have all seen it, but it might be helpful to put it on the record what exactly it is that we're talking about and what we're planning to vote on, so that anyone listening on the Zoom meeting would have an opportunity to listen to that and perhaps provide comment if they choose.
I would have no objection. Commissioners? Any objection to sharing the language? Okay. All right. Director Wong, are we able to put that on the screen?
Well, Madam President, you want
We
me
will
to just
check.
read it?
Or
I'll just read it.
if we don't? Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Commissioner Baker.
This was my issue. It's in my district. There's a lot of development going on in District 5 in North Meridian area. Well, it also has resonance, I think, in the South Meridian, North Cuna area as well. Mid-mile collectors are very important. We've had discussions about mid-mile collectors a number of times over the past months and years. And so here's an opportunity for us with the development agreement change to the Oakwind subdivision. That's before the Meridian Planning and Zoning and City Council, I believe. And we don't have any ability to require that the mid-mile collector be completed quickly, but we can send a note to the City of Meridian asking that. And so this is the language that would be amended as a note from the Ada County Highway District Commission to Meridian, and it states, the ACHD Commission is concerned about the timing of the completion of Rustic Oakway through both the Hubble and the Oaks subdivision. Mid-mile collectors are an integral piece of our transportation network as they provide connectivity, alternative travel routes, and reduce trips on the arterial network, which is key in this fast-growing area of Meridian. The ACHD Commission encourages Meridian to use this development agreement modification as an opportunity to encourage both the Toll and Hubble developers to collaboratively construct the mid-mile collector Rustic Oakway in a timely manner. And that's what That's the note that would be appended to the staff report.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Baker. Commissioners, any comments?
So then, Madam President, I would move that we adopt the development agreement modification staff report for the Oakwind Estate Subdivision and transfer it to Meridian.
I'll second
Commissioner,
that.
before we have that motion, Ms. McKay was kind of gesturing that she would like to testify. So I just want to make sure that she has an opportunity.
Okay, I believe did we just get a second on the motion?
Yes. Perhaps I can withdraw the second until we've heard from Ms.
Thank
McKay.
you.
Would you do that, Commissioner Goldthorpe?
Yes, thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, Ms. McKay?
Thank you, Madam President. I didn't want to interrupt anyone, sorry.
Oh, no, we appreciate that. Please
I know
go
it's
ahead.
A little cumbersome. Becky McKay with Engineering Solutions, 1029 North Rosario and Meridian. I'm representing the applicant on this particular Oakwind development. It's BB Living, which is a division of Toll. I just want to let the commission know that that this portion of the property that we're bringing back as a DA mod, the only reason we're asking for that modification is to reduce the density. We initially, in 2013, had approval for 921 dwelling units on 250 acres. And in this particular area, we were required to have at least 8 to 15 dwelling units per acre in this corner. And we have since changed the plan from a multifamily mini storage facility. The multifamily was going to be almost 15 units per acre. Now we're just doing some townhomes and patio homes in this area. So our density is at 7.58. And therefore, that mandated that we request the DA modification to reduce the density because we were capped at, we had to have at least 8 dwelling units per acre. Right now, I would like the commission to know that we have been rolling through the Oaks North project at a very quick pace. We have phases 1 through 3 recorded and almost completely constructed. We have phases 4 through 6 that are under construction that we've pre-conned, and we have approval on construction plans for phases 7 and 8. So that rustic oak collector is about 760 feet short of the northern boundary of where the proposed Prescott Ridge development is supposed to take access. They have not obtained any entitlements from the city of Meridian. They won't be going to a hearing until the 22nd at the Planning and Zoning Commission. They did contact my clients and made an offer as far as sharing some cost and a timeline to construct that rustic oak and extend sewer and water. My clients on August, I think 31st, went ahead and submitted a counter offer to them, and they haven't heard back. Normally in these situations, I mean, this is totally an unrelated improvement to this little corner that's adjacent to McDermott and to McMillan. Intentionally, when we laid this out, we had continuous collectors that go all the way through this project, both north and south across McMillan down to 5 Mile Creek and then east out to Black Cat. Arcadia has been extended with Jump Creek and adjoining development. So we have multiple collector roadways that have been underway out here. This is something that the private developers deal with as far as making arrangements to get utilities and to coordinate on these improvements. I've never had a situation where the commission or a council has asked me to or required of me to extend off-site utilities and make off-site improvements that my project doesn't warrant. So I find this kind of unusual. Like I said, this is usually amongst the private developers to arrange the timing of these facilities. And like I said, we're moving through this project at a relatively quick pace, considering the size and magnitude of it. Can I answer any questions?
No, I just have a comment, Madam President, and that is, we understand all that, but this is an important part of our transportation system, and it gives us the ability to just send a note to Meridian in the hopes that they will, whatever they do is fine.
Okay.
And, you'll have the input on that, but we're telling them this is important. And so, in a timely manner, as timely as it can be, get her done, basically. So thank you.
Understood. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Becky. Thank you, Commissioner Baker. All right, Commissioner Goldthorpe.
I will happily reinstate my second.
All right, we have a motion with a second. Commissioners, you have this item before you.
Madam President, just one comment.
Commissioner
As I made last week, I think it's incumbent on us to reform our impact fee statute. We talked about this earlier, but it wasn't incorporated this year. So that impact fees can be used to connect these mid-mile collectors. They're so important, and the burden falls on the residents otherwise. And I think it's important that we do that and work with Meridian and the private sector to get that done. Mid-mile collectors should be impact fee eligible.
Thank you, Commissioner. All right, any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right, motion carries. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Ms. McKay. All right, our next item, Meridian. Award construction bid for Eagle Road, Amity Road to Victory Road, and this is a request for approval. And I believe Ryan Cutler
Yes,
will
I'm
be
here.
All right, welcome, Ryan. We'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Madam President, Commissioners. Ryan Cutler, Senior Project Manager in the Capital Projects Department. Just coming to you today to give you a quick briefing on the Eagle Road and Amity Road intersection project. This also includes the Eagle Road from Amity to Victory section of roadway that is before you for approval today as far as approving the bid. So just wanted to give you a little background information and see if you had any questions that we could answer for you. Give you a little bit of a background and history on this project. As you may remember or are aware of now, we currently have a single lane roundabout at the Eagle and Amity intersection that's shown here on the screen. We built that in 2012, and it's been functioning very well since then. When we built that, we had the intent of building a larger facility planned for a dual lane. Approximately 10 years later was our thought process when we built it. So fast forward to now, we are in the process of updating this intersection to a dual lane roundabout. You may be familiar also with the development that has been talked about on the northwest corner of this intersection. That is the Ferenz development. That was an application that was received by the city in 2016. As part of that development, the agreement was for them to proceed and construct the dual lane roundabout at the intersection as part of their development in a development agreement with the Ada County Highway District. You approved that agreement in August of 2017, which required the completion of the dual lane roundabout to happen in summer of 2018. There was then a time extension requested by the property owner in February of 2018, and that led to a completion date of the roundabout in fall of 2019. Well, here we are today. We still have a single lane roundabout constructed out there, and the development on the northwest corner has not yet proceeded. And so we completed our design of the roadway section, Eagle Road from Amity to Victory, which required this intersection to be improved for us to move forward with the road widening in that area. During that time, the development agreement with the property owner on the northwest corner was terminated in November of 2019. So just to give you an idea and a reminder of what's taking place out in this area, for your reference, north is to the right on the screen. This is the stretch between Amity and Victory on Eagle Road, which includes 10-foot multi-use pathways, mid-block crossing at the canal, which you can see in the very top picture on the right-hand side. I'll circle it with my cursor here. There's a canal where it's a very popular place for pedestrians to use the canal for walking or jogging, and they cross in that area. So we have adjusted our PED crossing to that location for safe crossing of pedestrians there. This also includes a roundabout at the busy intersection of Eagle and Zaldia for both the Kingsbridge and the Tuscany subdivision, trying to get out onto Eagle Road. This is a picture, an updated plan currently of the dual lane roundabout that has been designed and ready to construct at the intersection of Amity and Eagle. Just some highlights on this intersection. There are RRFBs at all the crossing locations to signalize those for pedestrians crossing in this area. We also have extended the pathways and sidewalks to the east, south, and west for future connections as roadway projects may come in the future on those segments. And then also you'll notice in the south to west bypass lane, so that is in the northwest corner of the intersection, there's a bypass lane that will be for movements that are from the south on Eagle Road to the west on Amity Road. So a little bit of history on the roundabout design. As I stated before, the development agreement for the northwest corner property owner went away. And so ACHD got busy designing the intersection to make sure that we could complete this project. That project started in March of 2020 and included not only members of the City of Meridian staff for input on our project team, but also coordination with the land group, who was the representative for the property owner of the northwest corner. This also included some intersection analysis by not only ACHD's traffic team, but also an outside consultant. In September of 2020, we completed that design and put it out to bid on October 7th, 2020, and our apparent low bidder was Central Paving, which you see in the staff report that is before you today for approval. And so here we are today for approval, and we anticipate that the construction of this project will start around the 19th of November and construct throughout FY21. With that, Commissioners, President May, I would stand for any questions.
All right.
Madam President.
Thank you very much, Ryan. We appreciate it. Commissioner Goldthorpe, please go ahead.
Yes, I've got a few questions, and I'm remembering back to 2016. I was the one that presided over all the different hearings regarding this, all of the meetings with the public. I was the one that pulled the original approval of everything off of a consent agenda so that the public would have any opportunity for input whatsoever. And there were, as a result of all that public input, there were a number of changes made to the Forenza development itself in order to protect pedestrians and a few other reasons. And Ryan, correct me if I'm wrong, it was the commission that approved the original development agreement, yes?
Correct.
Okay, so my question now is, since the original development agreement went away, and we really haven't heard anything about that until just recently when I started asking some questions. Why is it that the commission wasn't allowed to daylight anything with regards to problems or termination of the old development agreement and speaking to the new development agreement or new changes that were proposed and that we see before us today?
President May and Commissioner Goldthorpe, that's a good question. Obviously, the concern from my standpoint as the project manager is the completion of the Eagle Road section, which includes this intersection. A majority of those questions would probably need to be directed to the Development Services Department, who handles all of those development agreements, and I may defer to them to answer that question.
Super. Thanks, Ryan. I see Gary's there.
Madam
Yeah,
President.
thanks, Ryan. Mr. Inselman,
Madam President, Commissioner Goldberg.
welcome.
Gary
Please go ahead.
Inselman, Deputy Director of Development Technical Services. Commissioner Goldthorpe, with the cooperative development agreements, there are specific requirements written into those. And when the party defaults in that agreement, then the agreement is terminated. There's not a commission action necessary to bring that back to terminate the agreement. They failed to complete the improvements in the time required by the commission approval, and therefore the agreement is null and void. In your approval of the preliminary plat for the Perrins development, it was written as an either or. Either they enter into the CDA and complete those improvements, or they do the minimum frontage improvements required by policy, and that's what would stand today as their requirement if and when they move forward with their development.
So another curiosity question, Gary, I know you have the answer to this, is with that, what looks like a fairly substantial change as far as that shortcut on the right-hand side heading west on Amity. Why was that able to be pushed through and included in the bid without us knowing? And I'm not being critical or negative here. I just was curious.
Madam President, Commissioner Goldthorpe, that bypass lane was always included, and that was part of the design that Albertson's consultant, the Land Group, had started in working on when they were told to stop working on the design by their client. But that bypass was always included in the proposed roundabout.
Well, that's I guess the derogatory effect of 4 years. I didn't remember that. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Inselman. Commissioners, any other questions for Ryan?
Madam President, I have a couple of questions.
All right, go right ahead, Commissioner Arnold.
Thank you. Ryan, what's the impact if we delayed this for a week? We've had a request from the City of Meridian to delay awarding this contract until after our joint meeting with them, which is scheduled for tomorrow. If delaying it for a week is going to impact the project schedule, then I guess my next question would be, what other alternatives do we have? Could we schedule a special meeting by Zoom for Friday afternoon to take this matter up in order to accommodate Meridian's request that they have an opportunity to talk about this at the joint meeting before we award the contract?
All right, Mr. Wallace, I see you back at the podium. Are you taking this one, or?
Madam President, Commissioner Arnold, yeah, I'll take this. Dave Wallace, Deputy Director of Plans and Projects. We could certainly delay this a week. The concern we have is that substantive changes to this will probably kick it out of next year's budget entirely. So we're on a short string. And an entire change to this intersection, if that is what someone may have in mind, will blow about a $7 million hole in next year's budget. I just need to put that on the table. But we could certainly delay it a week. Sir?
Madam President,
All right, thank you.
if I could also
Director
follow
Wong?
up,
Please.
just so it's clear to the commission, the reason that this is moved from the consent to the regular agenda was a request from Meridian. This is their opportunity to have this discussed. I don't know if they're on the Zoom or not, but that's why this was moved. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Any further questions or comments?
Madam President, perhaps we should ask the city of Meridian to weigh in now then.
Do we have anyone from the city of Meridian that has joined us, Stacy?
We currently have 47 people on the Zoom call at one time. I have not had anybody identify themselves
Let me
as
see.
the city of Meridian, nor have I had anybody that's saying that they would like to speak to this item.
Madam President, I'm
I'm
not sure that it was clear to the city
Commissioner
of
Arnold?
Meridian that it was going to be delayed in order, or that it was being moved to the regular agenda to allow them to talk about it today. I think their intent was to talk about it at the joint meeting tomorrow, and if we can accommodate that, I certainly would be in favor of doing so.
Madam
Madam
President?
President? Oh.
Was that Mr. Wallace
No, this is the director.
or Director Wong? I'm sorry, Director Wong, and then Commissioner
And
Baker,
just to
please.
clarify, I'm very confident that the information was relayed back to the Meridian representative who made the request that this was going to be moved from the consent to the regular agenda today. Now, that being said, as the Deputy Director Wallace said, deferring this for 1 week, we can make that happen.
All right, thank you, Director Wong. All right, Commissioner Baker.
Yeah, first of all, let me just say a general comment. I think this is part of the problem that we have when these projects, take so long to develop. And I know that there were extenuating circumstances. There was a CDA and, the whole schmear, and then they bailed on us. But still, it's just, I think, emblematic of the fact that these things take so long that people's minds change. New people come along and they say, why are we doing this? And so all the planning that's done and all the money that's done and spent on design and everything else just seems to be, an afterthought. And quite frankly, we don't have the money, even going forward, to just, say, well, $1 million design should just be thrown in the trash because someone doesn't like it. Now, on this particular project, we've already bid it out. We've got a good price. Who knows if you're going to, if it would cost, $1 million or $2 more next year if we were to bid it out. We'd end up having to, spend a lot of money to redesign. We've already spent the money on right-of-way, I assume, so, we wouldn't need that big of a footprint for a regular intersection, but you'll have these little remnants. I just wonder if we're giving, I really want to accommodate the city of Meridian. I really do. I think they're a great partner, but I'm just wondering if all we're doing is giving them a false hope that, that they can impact this project. I'm really torn about this whole thing, whether deferring it or approving it, because quite frankly, I don't know what they can say tomorrow that would lead me to change my mind that we should not move forward on this project.
Thank you, Commissioner Baker. And we don't know exactly what their issue is or what they would address, but I think it is significant that we are scheduled to meet with them tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock. And if we can defer it for 1 week without any sort of negative impact on the district, that may be something that the commission would be willing to consider. Commissioner Goldthorpe?
Oh.
Yeah.
One moment, Commissioner Arnold.
I believe you're right, as far as the deferral not hurting anything. And I also believe that if there are any small changes to this design of the entire project, not so much the roundabout itself, but some of the crosswalks that you can't see in this particular picture, then that is a small enough changes that we ought to be able to accommodate it without changing the whole bid structure. So if we're going to do anything, let's defer it for a week and talk about it tomorrow, and then go ahead.
Thank you, Commissioner Goldthorpe. Commissioner Arnold, please go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm just going to make the motion that we defer this item for 1 week in order to have the conversation with the City Meridian tomorrow. So that's my motion, is to defer it for 1 week.
All right, we've got a motion. Commissioner Goldthorpe, did you second?
I did, thank you.
All right, we have a motion with a second. Is there any further discussion? All right, hearing none, I will go ahead and call for the decision. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? All right, motion carries. Item is to be deferred to next week's night meeting. All right, thank you. That takes care of all of our items on our regular agenda. That takes us to public communications. Is there anyone that would like to address the commission? Ms. Spencer, have you heard from anyone?
Nope, we are good.
All right, thank you very much. So, hearing that there are no individuals that would like to address us, we will now stand adjourned. Thank you, everybody. Now, we're not quite done. We're going to be moving into our post-commission agenda. And our first item on that is the ADA diagonal curb ramps and pedestrian push-button inventory assessment presentation by staff.
Pedestrian Commission.
There you are. Welcome back.
Thank you. I will share my screen now. Presentation mode. There. Can everyone see my presentation? Perfect. Whoop. Okay. Sorry. So, good afternoon, Commission. My name is Edinson Bautista, ACHD Senior Transportation Planner. And in today's work session, I will present to you an update to the ADA diagonal curb ramps and pedestrian push-button inventory assessment project. Today's meeting is an information briefing only. In April 2019, the ACHD Commission adopted the updated ADA transition plan. The transition plan is intended to provide a comprehensive plan to ensure the Ada County pedestrian environment is accessible for all people. The plan is a living document, which is regularly updated as programs and services changes, barriers are being addressed, and new facilities are being constructed. Through this update, the Commission directed staff the development of pedestrian push-button inventory and review of the diagonal curb ramp inventory as part of the plan's implementation phase. The inventory assessment consists in 5 tasks, including the identification process of over 6,300 curb ramps with no deficiency previously identified, and over 620 intersections. Also, as additional tasks, we included ADA training, data collection, data participation, and development of a report. Through the data collection process, 6,338 curb ramps and 2,889 traffic signal poles were inventoried. These features were evaluated following the 2010 ADA guidelines, the MUTCD, and the PROAG. For the curb ramps, the measurement included an evaluation of the surface type and condition, ramp width, running slope, cross slope, the location, top and bottom landing, and truncated dome just to mention a few. For the push button, the measurement included location, height, diameter, signing, activation, and evaluation of the adjacent curb ramps. More detailed information can be found in the ADA report that was included as part of the staff report. The data inventory was categorized and prioritized following the federal guidelines and ACHD ADA transition plan. The matrix consists in two components, including the categories, which represent the measurements and condition of the ramp, and the priorities, which includes the location and if it's a citizen request. Using this matrix, the pedestrian facilities were categorized in high, medium, or low if identified with a deficiency. In this slide, we present the findings of the inventory assessment. From the 6,338 diagonal curb ramps, 42% were identified with no deficiencies, and 58% were categorized and ranked between high, medium, and low. The ramps evaluated were locations that we previously identified as ADA compliant, and through this assessment, we identified that 42% presented some type of deficiencies. These locations were categorized and prioritized following the recommended guidelines established in the ADA transition plan. These curb ramps will be used to update the ACHD countywide curb ramp database and incorporate into our planning efforts like the integrated by work plan and in the annual report. For the pedestrian push button, from the 2,889 signal poles evaluated, 60% were identified as no deficiencies identified, 61% was ranked between high, medium, and low, or low, and 23% of the signal poles didn't present any pedestrian push button. The data evaluated will support ACHD continuous effort to identify and address barriers within the right-of-way that limit access to the people that limit access to people with disabilities. As next steps, staff will work internally to incorporate the inventory data into ACHD existing program inventory and ADA pedestrian push button inventory. ACHD will continue to make improvements through the integrated value work plan and report progress using the integrated value work plan annual report. ACHD will continue to coordinate ADA-related efforts with the ACHD ADA Advisory Committee. And with this, I conclude my presentation, and I stand for any questions.
Thank you very much, Edinson. Commissioners, any comments or questions, please, for Edinson?
Madam President,
Commissioner Hansen.
I just want to commend staff and everybody for doing this evaluation. You know, up to the point where before we got this done, there was general knowledge about what was or wasn't working out there, and an ADA facility that doesn't work isn't an ADA compliant, and we just had to do this inventory. So I really appreciate the hard work got into this. You know, it basically sets forth what our tasks are to make sure that happens, because you could have an accessible facility all the way through from someone's home to an office to wherever the services they're getting are, but one little spot is too dangerous and you basically don't have access. I have one comment. We might want to look then, because these diagonal ramps create issues, especially with chip sealing and so forth, gradually raising the crown of the road, and then of course the diagonal and the turn makes that difficult. So have we moved towards adjusting our priorities so that we don't authorize the building of diagonal ramps and that we prioritize the directional ramps at intersections? Have we started that process, Edinson?
Madam President and Commissioner Hansen, I believe there has been conversation regarding that, but I would ask if Dave or Justin can provide some further insight on that conversation.
Madam President. This is Justin Lucas. I'm the Planning and Programming Manager here at ACHD. I just want to directly respond to Commissioner Hansen's comments. The short answer is yes. ACHD is prioritizing and requiring directional curb ramps through its own projects and through development. Diagonal curb ramps can only be included in a project if there is extreme circumstances where that's the only type of curb ramp that works.
Okay, great. Thank you. That's what I wanted to hear.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Justin. Commissioners, any other questions or comments, please? All right, hearing none. Edinson, thank you very much. A lot of exceptional work done on a very critical need. So kudos to you and your team. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam President.
All right, Commissioners, our next item is the Table Rock neighborhood presentation. And Mr. Doug Bates is the resident lead on this presentation today, and we will also hear from someone from the Ada County Sheriff Department, as well as the Idaho State Historical Society. So welcome to everyone.
Thank you, Madam President. Let me take just a minute and see if I can share this screen correctly. Okay.
Okay, there you go. All right, sir, you've got the floor.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It's very good to be with you today, Madam President and Commissioners. My name is Doug Bates. Let me just move a few things around here so I can see what I'm doing. There we go. I'm at, my address is 4333 East Wild Horse Lane in Boise, Idaho. Grateful for the opportunity to speak with you for a few minutes today. I know this isn't the first time that you've heard about a few of the problems that we've experienced up at Table Rock, but hopefully we can get through some of these items today. Director Wong asked me just to give you a general idea of what's going on out there, and that's my goal today. Also, I wanted to introduce, you've already mentioned my co-presenters, Janet Gallimore, Director of the Idaho State Historical Society, as well as Lieutenant John Harris, Ada County Sheriff. We have a number of slides today, so I'm going to try to move quickly as I can. We're talking about Table Rock Road today. Hopefully we're going to talk about problems, some of the problems we're facing, as well as some of the solutions. The genesis of this discussion actually came from some questions by Director Wong, who with Steve Price, General Counsel, met my wife and I up on Table Rock. And he just asked me, surprised me, a couple questions. He said, hey, Mr. Bates, why are you involved? And he said, why is it important to you? And those questions helped me think about some critical issues and actually organize my thoughts on what are the issues up there we need to be aware of. The reasons are pretty straightforward, 4 of them. Number 1 is there's private property that we want to prevent vandalism and decrease risk of things like fire. Number 2, we care about the environment. Watching 4x4s trespass and chew up the hillsides is really disheartening. Number 3, my neighbors along Table Rock Road and the adjacent neighborhoods have seen a racetrack in front of their house for the last 20 years and seen their yards used as trash receptacles as well as damage and vandalism. And finally, some concern for the safety, not only of the neighbors, but even of those people that are going up there and vandalizing at night in terms of some dangerous situations. This is just basically a circle of the Table Rock area. Doesn't tell us a whole lot. The one thing I wanted to mention is the negative impacts of the activities up on in the Table Rock area start not there at the circle. They start clear down on Reserve Street near St. Luke's and Fort Boise and continue up East Shaw Mountain Road and then continue up into the Terra and the Wild Horse Ranch and Table Rock neighborhoods. So all of these neighborhoods, Madam President, are affected and impacted on some of the items we'll discuss today. I want to give you a little bit of a close-up because this will help you understand some of the things we're going to quickly go through. This is Table Rock Road. Can you see my mouse on the screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay, so this is the paved portion of Table Rock Road going up through the Table Rock neighborhood. It ends, and this is the Wild Horse Ranch paved road that goes up to the Wild Horse Ranch neighborhood. This little section of road we're going to talk about a little bit. This is surrounded by private ground. It's a 1,000-foot gravel section of road that is an ACHD right-of-way. Interestingly, it terminates 1,000 feet up, and the next 1,500 feet, which you see in purple, goes up and makes the rest of the trip. So that little section of right-of-way we're going to talk about just a little bit as we proceed. The thing that I think might be interesting to the commissioners is that a lot of people think this is all public ground. When we talk to people up there, their first response is, this is all public ground. That's why I'm up in my four-wheel drive, racing all over the hillsides. The fact of the matter is that most of the ground east and most of the ground south and west of Table Rock, and again, Table Rock is right here, is public land, Idaho Department of Lands, Parks and Recreation, Fish and Game, so forth. But the ground around these roads, the paved road, both in the neighborhoods along Table Rock, the ACHD right-of-way, and even the private road on the final ascent up to Table Rock, is right in the middle of private ground. And so there are some issues that creates that, again, we'll talk about. I just want to say something, Madam President, about this right-of-way. We still can't figure out what the ACHD right-of-way is all about. And nobody seems to know. That is a 1,000-foot ACHD right-of-way surrounded by one property owner, and that would be me, that terminates here at the Idaho Historical Society gate. And then the rest of the way up to the Table Rock, up to the top, is private road with no access, which we wonder, what is that right-of-way for? It actually isn't a golden path to nowhere. It's a golden path to problems and trouble, because the kids and the hikers and the late-night visitors come up the paved road, they go around the hill where they cannot be seen, and there is where the problems begin. It's a hidden, remote area, drugs and alcohol, illegal congregations. The fire that burned 2,500 acres in 2016 started right where my mouse is, right off that right-of-way, by kids that were hiding and partying up there. And of course, I put some red roads in here. Those red roads are all paths that have been cut by the kids with their four-wheel drives in the middle of the night, tearing up the hillside and doing whatever else they can possibly get away with. So, this is just a quick statement, Commissioners and Madam President, but I did look up the Section 4000 ACHD Manual Policy, the mission statement, because I was curious what right-of-ways are all about. And there were three basic things. It said the right-of-way is there to expedite acquisition of private property. Well, the right-of-way is surrounded by property with one owner, me. There's no other property. The second thing is the right-of-way terminates abruptly at the private access road. It doesn't even extend up to the top. It's halted. The second issue was consistent, equitable treatment of landowners. I'm the landowner that is around those roads. And then the third and very important issue is that it's supposed to promote public confidence, the ACH3 right-of-way. Well, with the private property damage going on up there and the public resources, the patrol, manage, and clean up, it's an enforcement nightmare, and it really has not done anything to promote the public confidence. So let's just run through real quickly some of the problems and concerns that we face here. And I'm going to show you real quickly again. I'm going to take these one at a time. The green, number one, is the paved neighborhood road that goes up through the Wild Horse neighborhood. Number two, the red, are the rogue trails created by the trespassers and those driving the vehicles along the hill. Number three is kind of a junction area. That's where the paved road meets the Wild Horse road, and actually the gravel road outlet heads up to the top of Table Rock. Number four is the gravel right-of-way, which is what we've been talking about, this little yellow strip. Number 5 is the Idaho State Historical Society gate that terminates the right-of-way and begins the private road to the top. And then number 6 is the very top, Table Rock itself. When I talked to Director Wong, he helped me clarify, let's make sure we understand what the problem areas are and why they're problems. So let's first talk about the homes along Table Rock Road. Speeding, reckless driving, loud exhaust, litter, nightly vandalism, even gunfire along a residential neighborhood for kids that have gotten drunk and decided they're gonna race up there at 2 or 3 in the morning. We, with the help of the city, actually did a data snapshot. I think this might really surprise you, commissioners. They asked me to guess how many cars go up there a year, up that paved road through the Table Rock Road neighborhood. And the answer, I guessed, was 100,000. Based on the data, the traffic study, we determined that there are 320,000 cars a year that go up through that neighborhood, the vast majority of them after dark. And one other statistic that you'll be interested in that we got from some observation on top and from the police and sheriff is that about 40% of those visitors are out of state. So they're coming into the area and they want to get to the top of Table Rock and they want to get there quickly. They don't want to hike. They want to drive their cars up there. I'm not going to spend much time on this. This comes from years of comments and letters from neighbors talking about everything from beer cans and bottles to eggs to shooting to reckless antics to all sorts of things that they've had to put up with in this neighborhood for the last 20 years. One of our neighbors on Table Rock Road took a shotgun blast right in their mailbox by one of these I call them interlopers that went up there in the middle of the night, decided to discharge the weapon in the middle of the neighborhood down the road. Almost every night, we private neighbors or the Idaho Historical Society, who is absolutely wonderful, go up with bags and pick up gobs of garbage, most of it alcohol and drug related. So that's just the neighborhood. Now let's get to the off-road areas where the trespassing and the trucks have caused rutting and erosion in our natural areas, vandalism, other illegal acts off-road. I just took a couple pictures to show you what they've done to our beautiful foothills, okay? These trucks decide they're gonna go up the hill, like it or not. And so they tear up the hill, they destroy all the subsurface and the plant life up the hill. The rains come, the erosion does the rest of the work. And not only has it nearly destroyed areas of the foothills, but in addition, it's washing away the underlayer surface of the ACHD paved road as that water and mud comes down the hill with nothing to stop it. These arrows that I wrote in here show you some of those trails. If you look quickly, all those non-colored trails are four-wheel drive trails that people have decided that they will use and construct with their vehicles. Unfortunately, the access to most of these trails, you guessed it, commissioners, they come up the paved road, they go up onto the ACHD right-of-way where they can get behind these hills and hide, and then they access the hills and they tear up the hillsides from that point. Very few of them access, there's a little access off the pavement, very difficult to get up there. They have to get behind the hills where they're not seen. A couple more pictures that I shot of what they've left for us up there on top. Get all sorts of surprises up there. Cars that are down right, we don't even know how they got down there. Usually you get up at 6 or 7 in the morning and find one of these cars down the hill and thankful nobody got killed or rolled a car and realize these are just kids that are making really, really bad judgment in terms of where they're driving. The other thing I have to say, I debated whether to put this slide in. I'm a beekeeper. And, you know, you think up there on the foothills that, you know, why would a beekeeper be up there? It's all cheatgrass and sagebrush. But actually it's not. There are some wonderful swaths of native plants up there, including the beautiful yellow arrow rock balsam root that you see spread out over the hill, the wild lupin, a lot of sunflowers, yarrow, and 120 other native plants that my bees and the other insects and animals, the elk and the deer that winter range up there, that subsist on. Okay, so that's two of them. Number three is what we call the Wild Horse Junction. We constantly are facing ingress and egress. There are times when we can't even get out of the neighborhood because people are parked illegally in front of signs right in front of our entry. We have had our keypad bashed in with rocks. We've had mail stolen out of our mailbox. Somebody a month ago took a pry bar, a crowbar to our gate mechanism arm and destroyed two of those. Graffiti, destroying electronics. At night, they just can't help themselves. This is a good picture I wanted to throw in here, where you can see every one of those cars is parked illegally. Every one of them. They're parked in front of ACHD no parking signs, not only on one side, but both sides of the road. Commissioners, this is really, really dangerous. And let me tell you why. Because they have now, in this picture, they have created a single lane going down between those illegally parked cars. That single lane supports cars racing up, a lot of times younger kids, and coming down, and at the same time, hikers and bikers trying to navigate that single lane to get up on top, oftentimes in low light. To complicate it, Barbonis has a quarry up on top, and trucks all day long, 18-wheelers, about 70,000 pounds, coming off the hill and navigating down through this traffic. And it's a really, really bad and dangerous situation. I'm not gonna play this is actually a film that I put in the presentation. We can show it another time, but essentially it shows the car coming up and seeing the no parking sign. I actually was I was towing cars that were parking in front of the junction, and I talked to Ada Sheriff and the police, and they said, let's take a softer approach. People don't like their cars towed, and I agree. That's awful. But then again, we can't afford not being able to get out of our subdivision because cars are parked there. So we started putting signs up, and here's an actual film because we have everything under camera here. September 6th, they stole that sign. Again, on September 30th, they stole that sign. About I'm several $1,000s into signs. They come up, they see them, and they figure nobody can see them, and they steal them. And if they can't steal them, they say, well, let's run over them. And so, it's just nonstop vandalism that's going on up there. Finally, and we've talked about this enough, but that 1,000-foot gravel ACH right-of-way, that golden path to nowhere that I talked about, where they're essentially hiding, you can see the cars are parked in there. This is all ACHD, no parking. And families even are trying to get up through there. Cars are sneaking up in front of them, behind them in low light. You don't even see them coming at you. If you look down there, these are the hills that they drive behind, so they're not seen. And then these are some of the access points that you can see. They go off-road when it gets too well traveled, and they go off on the rest of the road. A couple other parking signs. I'm going to actually play this clip. It's only a few minutes, but this is the junction. This is the Wild Horse Junction, and this is that gravel road, this ACHC first 1,000 foot. And in this particular instance, I want you to notice a jogger is running down the road, and here comes a 70,000-pound truck right behind him. Luckily, he looks over his shoulder and gets out of the way and moves further down into the entry. And this is going on all day. Now, those trucks deserve to be there. They have the right-of-way to go down there, but it's just a really, really difficult situation with all this traffic parked up there. A little bit more vandalism for you. This is an this is the Historical Society sign they put up before and after the kids get to it. They just go up there in the middle of the night and they grab it and they tear it off. The final slide that just in those 5 areas that I want to show you is at the, not the final one, the 5th one is at the gate itself, where, excuse me, every night we get vandalism, we get garbage, we get traffic, we get more vandalism and graffiti, more graffiti even still. Most of this is occurring in the middle of the night. And then, of course, the horrible, horrible situation where a fire was started a few feet off this right-of-way and burnt 2,500 acres. By the way, it burned within 100 feet of my house. I had BLM guys in my backyard saying, "I think your house is gone, Mr. Bates." Luckily, when it got close to the house, the wind changed and it shifted to the south and came up that last ridge. What's important to understand is these fires are started for reasons we understand and reasons we don't understand. This particular fire was started with fireworks, but we see small congregations of kids and fires along this road quite frequently, smoking, just build a fire to get warm. We'll even see them up under the cliffs of Table Rock, starting fires up in the brush at the base of the mountain. Then another thing that people don't understand is when these trucks go off-road into that, right now that grass is so dry, it's like it's got gasoline on it. We had a fire a week ago where the grass fired up. The undercarriage of these 4-wheel drives, digging and driving, is really hot, and that often will be the source of a fire as well. Final sign with the problems that we've had up there is the Table Rock Mesa itself. Graffiti, it's terrible. It's beautiful, beautiful rock structures. Our Native American, some of the tribes that give us a lot of history up there, this is a sacred area. And when they see some of the disgusting things that have gone on up there, it's almost overwhelming. Glass, drug needles, drug paraphernalia. This was just a month ago where some kids decided to paint the base of the cross with graffiti, so forth. So those are the problems, and I'm not really here to give solutions, but Director Wong did ask me, what are some of the things you think might help mitigate some of these problems? The first thing is just, education. And you're going to hear from Janet Gallimore in a minute at the Historical Society about the work they're doing on educating the public on what we want to go on up there versus what is going on. The second issue is some additional signage. I'm actually talking to the ACHD about that. Increased law enforcement. By the way, big kudos to the sheriff and the police. They've done yeoman's duty, coming up there and helping out. But guess what? With 320,000 car trips a year, we'd almost have to have somebody there 24/7 to stop all the garbage and all the things that are going on up there. We have private security up there. The Idaho Historical Society has hired private security. We've towed too many cars and don't like doing it. But the problem is when they block egress on private ground, you don't have a choice. The police can't even cite them for parking if they're on private ground. So we either have an argument with somebody, or we have the car towed, or we put up some additional signage. There's a lower gate in process with the city on Alta Via. We have increased video surveillance. And then at some point, not in this presentation, I really believe one of the solutions is to vacate that little yellow right-of-way and allow us to monitor and control that piece of ground the same way we do the rest of the private ground that goes to the top. One final point is once people get up there, commissioners, it's too late. There's no place to go. They get so packed in there, they don't know where to park. They see everybody else is parking, so they say to themselves, if everybody else is parking, why don't I park? They run out of room. That's when they start going up the hillsides or blocking the junction area, and that's when it gets too late. Won't talk about this too long, but I did talk to the ACHD that currently we have no parking signs along the yellow section of the right-of-way, and down the pavement about 500 feet, we would propose that those signs be extended all the way down around the turns with a big parking, no parking beyond that, this point to get people's attention, because once they start navigating these turns, they're not looking at signs. They just want to get to the top, they want to park to their cars, and they want to get going. Once again, there's nothing new here. I'm going to skip this slide. I did want to say, people often say to us, but we deserve access to Table Rock. And they're right, they do. The Historical Society, the Idaho State Department of Lands, and a number of other public entities have established a fantastic trail system on the south and west side of Table Rock, where there's public parking, there's public bathrooms, there's a public trailhead, and lots of room to get to the top without cutting around the hills and trying to backdoor it here. So that's pretty much, we think that some of these solutions, if we can, that lower gate that the city is contemplating will block probably 60% of the problems because it will stop night traffic. We think that in conjunction with better signage and possibly vacating that section of right-of-way, allowing us to move the gate down to the junction pavement where it's under camera, there's room to turn around, and it's very, very easy to patrol, could be the solution to some of the problems. Once again, Director Wong's questions, why are you involved and why is this important to you? I hope you have a better understanding of that. I want to thank you, Madam President, and Commissioner Goldthorpe, Hanson, Arnold, and Baker for listening to us today. A special thanks to Director Wong, who took the time to listen, to come up and listen, and to understand what we're dealing with. And of course, General Counsel Steve Price, who was there all the way along, giving us ideas and suggestions on how to deal with it. With that, I'm done with my presentation. There may or may not be questions, but what I would suggest is that we hear from the Historical Society and the Sheriff prior to questions, but I'll leave that up to you, Madam President.
All right, thank you, Mr. Bates. That's a lot of good information there, a lot going on. So we do appreciate you coming in and updating us today. And I have the same thought. Let's just keep on going, and we'll hear from everyone. And then we'll, if commissioners have questions, we'll hold them until after the other two individuals have spoken. So would you like to go to Janet Gallimore next, or Lieutenant Harris?
Janet, why don't you go here? That'd be good.
All right. Thank you, sir. Welcome, Ms. Gallimore.
Thank you so much, Madam President and Commissioners. It is an honor and a privilege to be able to give you a little bit more of an update and expand upon what Doug shared. So I'm going to talk a little bit and then ask Trish to go ahead and share the screen or share our PDF for you. So it might be a surprise to everyone that the State Historical Society administers the Old Idaho Penitentiary District, which does include the Table Rock Mesa. And the Mesa is available for public access from sunrise to sunset daily via designated trails that Doug shared with you. I also want to let the commissioners know that two members of our staff are also on this call, Amber Byerly, who oversees the agency's Historic Sites Program, and Steve Chestnut, our Operations and Maintenance Director, in case you have questions for them later on. So our staff, our contract security and local law enforcement have a long history of documenting and reporting vandalism, drug use, violence, firearms, stolen vehicles, fighting, fire setting, and fireworks. All of these, of course, damages the Boise foothills and puts the lives and property of nearby residents in peril. And Trish, go ahead and share your screen whenever you can, because I'm about ready to need the second slide. The other thing that we have experienced is graffiti, excess garbage, and other maintenance issues that truly have outpaced our resources. I think it was about 2009. Trish, if you can go to the front page, the title page, that would be great. Thank you. We worked with Gerhard Barbonis because there were cars just running all over the place up on top of Table Rock. And we worked with him to put some rock barriers around there to be able to constrain cars from just driving everywhere. And I remember before I knew Doug so well, he would call and tell me what was going on up there. And that was at least a partial solution, but that was, over 10 years ago when it's not nearly as, it wasn't nearly as bad as it is now. So this spring, in part because of COVID, but in part because of just excess traffic, the Board of Trustees, who oversee the Idaho State Historical Society, closed the parking lot in June of 2020, the one on top of Table Rock Mesa. That actually fits about 30 cars, so it's not, can't possibly hold all of the traffic that's going on up there. And that was because of course, the excess traffic as vehicles navigate beyond that public right-of-way that Doug shared, and illegally parked all up and down that road, too. If you can imagine, they weren't only parking on the ACHD right-of-way, but all the way up and down the private road that is there. So clearly we recognize that Table Rock is a sacred place, and we're committed to the preservation and the storytelling up there, but we also recognize that visitors and residents want access, and therein lies the challenge. So we formed a Table Rock Access Advisory Committee. So Tricia, if you could go ahead to the next slide. The purpose of this committee, and they started meeting in September, so we've had 2 meetings, is twofold. We wanted to have them review and understand the current safety, capacity, and access challenges at Table Rock, and then with their input, identify and craft recommendations to address safety, provide additional access, if possible, create possible additional interpretive amenities for Idahoans and visitors. So the Advisory Committee, or TRAC, as we like to call it for short, represents a wide range of professionals, and they represent different entities, including the Chamber of Commerce and business folks, the neighborhood associations, the Shoshone and Paiute tribe, bikers, and other users. So you can see we have a nice broad group of constituents that are working on this to help us try to find reasonable and safe solutions moving forward. We've held 2 meetings. Our goal is to have 5 to 6 meetings to realize some prioritized recommendations that we can move forward to our board and to the governor, and of course see what we can do to help alleviate some of the challenges that we have. So I wanted to give a little bit of an overview of what we have been working on with them so that you can see the current status. And so at the September meeting, the TRAC was briefed on challenges. They were presented with public survey data, and they held breakout discussions on their thoughts about what should be the desired activities up there, because we know what we don't want, and most of that happens after night, but we did want to have a discussion on what we do want. I think Trish is going to share with you the first survey. So that public survey that we did this over the course of the summer. We pushed out a survey on social media and as many different venues as we could to get some data back from the public. So on page 3 of the of your packet, page 1 of the survey, we had 253 respondents, and basically we learned a little bit about how often people visit, which is weekly, monthly, and yearly. On the next page, we learned where people typically park, and so there was a split between the lower lot that we administer here at the Idaho Old Penitentiary and the upper lot, and then of course Table Rock Road, and then there's other areas. There's trailheads down around Alta Vista. On the next page, the reason for visiting included hiking and sightseeing, mountain biking, rock climbing, interpretation, and then other people, as Doug said, were coming from out of town, so they were coming just to visit, because it's something that if you go do a Google search, it's one of the highlights of Boise to go do, and we're working, I think, on getting that changed a little bit. And then, of course, Table Rock is also used during the weekdays and during the weekends. There's really not a time that you can go up there now that people aren't out there enjoying the outdoors, because of course that's what we're all doing to stay safe. On page 7 of 10 of the public survey, you'll see that from sunrise to noon is a big time for people to use Table Rock, and noon in the afternoons, and then of course sunset, because sunset is a big favorite opportunity for people to go up and view the sunset. And Amber can address the date. I won't get it right, of course, but I think that's been going on since like 1927. So this is not a new activity by any stretch of the imagination. So then what we did with our, at our October meeting, the Table Rock Access Advisory Committee reviewed all of those, the data, and they also brainstormed in small group out sessions what they thought could be different activities, more activities, and what have you. And they were asked to then prioritize those activities and discuss amenities. So what we wanted to get a sense of is if we have to go fundraise or if we have to look for additional public funding, what was the most important for us to understand and develop first? And interestingly, the data indicated that they prioritized activities in their small breakout sessions almost exactly the way the public survey came out. Namely, hiking, sightseeing, and education were the top priorities, and that was followed by mountain biking and mountain climbing. So that's the screen that you see there. Then the feeling was that there was no additional amenities needed for biking. There was concern that for the mountain bikers, they had to like climb all the hikers and the mountain climbers, they had to like hike to the top before they could even climb, so that there was concern that they could get a little bit closer. So what you see in our final slide there is that we, in terms of amenities, it looked as though we asked our team if we needed to have more parking adjacent and off of Table Rock Road, fee-based shuttle from the Old Penn parking lot, if we needed to do something like explore an alternative road, or if there was no improvement needed. So you can see the committee basically said, yes, we need to improve adjacent parking, and then we also need to look at a potential fee-based shuttle that we could offer from the Old Penn parking lot on a regular basis. So this is the topic of our next meeting, is to look at how do we address the amenities needed for the kinds of desired activities that the public wants. And of course, the challenge there is clearly safe access that does not cause additional angst to the neighborhood. And while parking at the Old Penn trailhead is very viable, it's here, it's used extensively. You can't go there on a weekend when it's not almost full all day long. We do realize that it's not for all visitors because it's quite steep and quite rugged. And we understand from our other surveying with our private security company that in the very popular use is families with small children after dinner in the summer. They would park on Table Rock Road and with their strollers go up the private rugged road and go to the top. So we know that the destination is viable and important for families who can't climb. And then of course the mobility impaired. Those groups don't have the time or the inclination or the ability necessarily to hike from the parking lot at the Old Penn Trailhead. So in conclusion, Madam President and members of the Commission, we're grateful to Director Wong and ACHD for allowing us to come and share this information with you, to the City of Boise for their work on the traffic control gate, to all of our law enforcement partners, and everyone who's worked together for short and long-term solutions for safe and equitable access to this iconic location. And we'll provide you updates as we move forward with this community engagement process and let you know what the final recommendations are. And I'm happy to stand for questions after the rest of the presentation. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, and we'll look forward to those continuing updates. All right, Lieutenant Harris.
Good afternoon, Madam President and Commissioners. My name is Sergeant John Harris, and I supervise. I supervise one of 2 North County patrol teams for the Ada County Sheriff's Office. My area of responsibility includes unincorporated areas north of the interstate, from Canada to Highway 21, including Highway 55, Highway 16, Avamore, Hidden Springs, Locust Basin Road to Milepost 9, Sunset Peak, and Table Rock. Around March of this year, word from the sheriff got to me that I needed to look into problems up on Table Rock area. On the 18th, I met with Doug Bates on Table Rock Road at the gate. I was noticing about 30 illegally parked cars along this, I guess, the Golden Road that Doug calls it, the portion that belongs to ACHD that they have right away with. Doug was up there in his truck. He pulled up to me and explained that he just purchased this property and was having a lot of problems with people up there. That evening, I was able to get about the cars and the folks up there removed, but it's such an ongoing problem that verbal warnings were not working. On March 25th, we went into a COVID lockdown with the state of Idaho. I would say tens of thousands of high school kids no longer had anything to do as far as school or jobs or a place to recreate, so they were going up to Table Rock or trying to get up to Table Rock, putting a lot of pressure in that area. Also, a lot of people who were staying at home from work were looking to recreate and were heading to Table Rock. We were at the Sheriff's Department, we were seeing a lot of pressure on Table Rock, 8th Street, and Bogus Basin area. Doug's presentation did an awesome job of laying out where we are today. And it's kind of like we're trying to turn a ship. As this has been, access to Table Rock has been going on since I was a kid growing up here for decades. You had unfettered access 24 hours a day up that bumpy dirt road to Table Rock. And now with over 700,000 people in the Treasure Valley, a lot of them are looking to access Table Rock and to drive there, and it's not working out. I had our crime analysis unit pull together some stats, basically since I met Doug in March until this morning, about Sheriff's Department responses to the Table Rock Wild Horse area. And it's kind of a complicated road because it's Boise Police jurisdiction in the paved area to Altavia. At Altavia, it changes to Ada County Sheriff's Department until you get to the top of Table Rock. Then Boise Police is again responsible for services up there. So basically from Altavia to the Wild Horse Subdivision, I had them pull some stats and I had them pull some information out. But I had them look at our extra patrols, illegal parking calls, suspicious vehicles, traffic stops, illegal 4x4ing, trespassing, vehicles blocking the driveway, problem subjects, and I could go on, and graffiti. I could go on. There were about 208 calls, but many of those are my deputies going up there and being proactive and rather trying to be reactive to problems up there. Citizens call in to dispatch with problems up there. My guys are proactive, and then I get texts from Doug Bates saying, hey, there's some people up here, and I do my best to send the patrol car up there when I can. With those numbers, so that's 208 calls I had them look at that we have gone up there between March and this morning. That resulted in 176 hours of enforcement and, as we call it, showing door up there, being in the area. In addition to that, or I guess also with that number, there is 351 law enforcement responses to that area. And that would be if there's a suicidal subject or a bad accident. Because Table Rock is kind of the far reaches of my patrol area, we would ask Boise Police to go up there first, stabilize everything, and then we would go. So between us, the Ada County Sheriff's Department, and Boise Police, we are doing as much enforcement as we possibly can on that road without having, I think as Doug said, a dedicated officer to be there 24 hours a day. That I can't do. But we are getting several hours of coverage there a day. Sometimes it's afternoon, late evening, or early evening. It's basically, if you drive up to the Wild Horse entrance, this is basically a 24-hour-a-day problem. Doug showed some slides of the cars parked up there. The one with all the cars parked up there, I went up that day, I think it was a weekend, a Sunday possibly, and started getting them cleared out. We just can't be up there all the time to deal with that, the volume of people that are going there, and they're all violating the signs. And we've had cars towed and written multiple citations up there, myself doing that included. I have not had anyone who shows up to their car being cited or gone being angry at me, because it's so oversigned up there that you shouldn't be there. There's no argument that you shouldn't have done it. So it's kind of refreshing that the people are understanding of the enforcement that we're doing, but at the same time, they are absolutely wanting access to Table Rock somehow. And again, for decades, you just drove up there. Even 2 years ago, I drove up there with my in-laws to show them the sites at dusk, and it was no problem, but now that the gate is closed. Yesterday, in preparation for this meeting, I drove to the gate. I had keys to it, opened it up, and drove from the gate to the top of Table Rock. The road is not in the best of condition in that area. It is much steeper. It is narrower to where, at best, you can fit 2 cars, and in some areas, you could only have 1 car. So certainly, vehicle access to Table Rock, as it is now, is just not an option, from what I see. We've got the track group meeting that I'm a part of, and I think it's absolutely awesome, the work that they're doing. Being a lifelong Boise resident who grew up in the East End, spent many days in grade school and high school, junior high, hiking to Table Rock in that area. I am glad that Doug and the track group is looking for solutions to get people into this area, not to fence people out of Idaho. But we have to find the appropriate way for people to access this area, Table Rock. It's not, law enforcement alone is not the solution to the problem on Table Rock. We can't write that many citations, tow that many cars. We're sort of at needing some barriers to a degree. I'm rather excited about the gate at Altavia. I think that's going to help us out. And Doug and I have talked in the past about moving the existing gate on Table Rock Road in a dirt portion out to, I guess, where the pavement would end. I don't understand all the background and all that, but I would like to see that happen. That would help us out a lot. Also, the extra signage that's going in down on Reserve Street, I think is going to help out as well. So we're sort of chipping away as people go up the road. They're going to see signs when they hit Reserve Street that, hey, you can't drive to the top. Then there's going to be a gate at Altavia, which is going to stop probably the majority of the people. There's still going to be people probably parking and trying to walk up, but this from Altavia to the Wild Horse Sub is probably about a mile, and it's steep, so it's adding an extra mile of effort that people have to give to walk into Table Rock along the road. I think that's going to help out as well. So Boise City, I know, is working their area of Table Rock. The numbers I talked about today are only Ada County Sheriff's Department numbers. Of the calls I looked at are 176 hours. Boise Police is also doing quite a bit on the road as well. And I will stand for questions if there are any.
All right, thank you, Lieutenant Harris. All right, commissioners, any questions for Lieutenant Harris or the other speakers that we've had today?
Yeah, Madam President.
Commissioner Baker.
I have a couple. First, a comment. I think it's really important to continue to have driving access to Table Rock, particularly since the woman from the Historical Society was very outspoken in terms of, the people that can't do the trails. Otherwise, I think we would be locking a lot of people out, and I don't think that's appropriate. So my question regarding the gate at Altavia, when is that going to be closed, and who's going to be able to have access through it?
That's my question.
I can't answer all those questions because it's a city project. So what I would do is refer you to the city. They are running the project.
No, I understand that, sir. My question is, who is going to have access through it? Because apparently that's the way that all the people who live on Wild Horse are going to get through, right?
Yeah, the access, that gate will be open during the day, and closed at night,
Uh-huh.
then the only people that will have access through that gate at night will be the Wild Horse Ranch subdivision members.
Yeah, so basically we're creating a private road situation on a public road.
Yeah, the gate will basically limit
Right.
the nighttime traffic. It won't limit the daytime traffic. It will be the same. But those people coming up in the middle of the night, it will restrict them.
Right, but I think we need to also be cognizant, we will be creating during darkness a private road out of a public road, and I think that that is something that needs to be looked at very carefully. And then, I guess that's, let's see. And one of your suggestions, sir, was to vacate the gold portion of the road, the dirt road that ACHD has. Who
Yeah.
would that be vacated to?
Me.
Yeah, I have a problem with that too. I think that will then limit access to Table Rock by cars.
No, Commissioner Baker, let me make sure you understand. Access is already limited. The
No, I
private,
understand. Well,
private
people
15
actually drive up there.
no, you can't drive up there because the 1,500-foot private road where the ACHD right-of-way ends is a private road. You can't drive up there now. That's
But
why,
isn't that something that they're looking at with the Idaho Historical Society to create parking?
no, we're
No?
not, no.
Well, even so, it just seems inappropriate to vacate the land. I just wouldn't be in favor of that. I just wouldn't be in favor of that.
Yeah, Commissioner Baker.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Baker. All right, Commissioners, any other questions?
Madam Chair,
Commissioner Hanson.
yes, Doug and Janet and Sergeant Harris, that was tremendous. I just tremendous commendation to the incredible hard work. You recognize that there's so many moving parts, and this goes back 100 years, and that there's no one size fits all. And I really love the opportunity to add creative solutions to that network. And I think, from my standpoint, I think the other commissioners would agree with me that we stand ready to cooperate in any way we can. And I'm really glad the state's involved, because the state will help us if there's some sort of statutory limitation that causes us to require us to do something such as access. So there's lots of solutions down the road, and I'm glad this process has started. And I think you will find a lot of cooperation, because everybody's a Boisean, everybody lives in this community and wants to make this, I should say, Ada County resident wants to make this work, because this is a true treasure of our city, and just as the foothills are, and so I think you're going on the right course, and I'm looking forward to listening to and hearing about what the track committee makes in terms of recommendations, because you're dealing with the special commendation. You're dealing with how many different governments? A dozen, in order to make this work. But we're determined to make it work.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Hanson. Any other comments or questions, Commissioners?
Yes, Madam Chair.
Commissioner Arnold.
Thank you. I'd just like to thank the folks for presenting today. It was very informative for me, because I don't spend really any time up there. I am interested in having maybe our staff follow up with the city of Boise and find out what the timing is for the installation of that gate. I'll be interested to see what impact that has, and then maybe exploring how we can cooperate with the city of Boise, because obviously they're going to take the lead on this, how we can cooperate with the city of Boise to alleviate some of the problems that we're seeing up there.
All right, thank you. Mr. Price, did you have a comment?
Sure, Madam President. Commissioner Steve Price, General Counsel. Just kind of as a follow-up to Commissioner Arnold's question, and that is that staff has been working with Boise City staff for over a year at least on addressing this issue. You know, one of the issues for ACHD is that there's a state statute that prohibits us from gating a public road. And we've worked with the city, and the city has already declared using their police powers that there's a public need, there's for the health and welfare of the community to gate that, and so they're moving forward with the gate proposal. We've already reviewed a license agreement to install the gate. They are currently, Boise City has hired a consultant, and they're designing that, and I believe that they've sent that to our development services in proposing both the location and a design and a turnaround for the gate, and that will soon, we've heard a couple of weeks, but that soon will come before the commission for your approval. Also, the director's exploring some options with, he has with the executive team and myself regarding possibilities of what to do with the 1,000-foot, as Mr. Bates has describes it, as the Golden Road. And possibly we would be coming to the commission with a resolution to change the status of that road from open right-of-way to unopened right-of-way, and grant a license agreement to Mr. Bates to put a gate at the end of Wild Horse, where the end of the pavement is in the beginning of the dirt road, but that would continue to allow the public to use the unmaintained portion of the road for foot and bike access. But that's something that we may come back to you in the future on. But that's from staff, that's what the direction we're going. We're appreciate the time Mr. Bates has taken with us to work through these issues. They're very, very difficult, as Mr. Hansen has pointed out, and we're excited. I'm not going to say that we're not excited, but we're most certainly dedicated to try and find a solution to what is apparently from the presentation today is actually a huge issue. So anyway, I thought I'd provide that and kind of a roadmap as to where we're going.
All right, thank you, Mr. Price. And Mr. Bates, I do want to commend you for bringing a lot of moving parts to this, and a lot of individuals and organizations that have vested interests there. I too grew up here, and so I am very familiar with the area. But I'm also very glad that ACHD is part of the discussion. And I think with everybody working together, we're going to be able to find the right solutions to this problem. And thank you very much for bringing us all up to date today. And we look forward to the updates from the track committee and going forward. So thank you all for being here. And
Madam
go ahead.
Can I make
You bet.
one real quick comment?
You bet, Mr. Bates.
I just wanted to say again how incredible everybody has been to work with. In my past life, there's usually a couple really, really difficult areas you just can't work out. But with the help of the sheriff, the Historical Society, Director Wong, and General Counsel Steve, everybody's really working together. There's so many pieces. When we started this, I thought this is going to be a nightmare. This is going to be an absolute nightmare. There's no way we're going to get a consensus here. But I wanted the commissioners to know that at least so far, very, very optimistic. I won't use the word that Steve used, excited, but very optimistic.
He qualified that.
Yeah, he quickly, I brought a smile. He quickly changed it. But I think we're all going in the same direction. We all have the same goals in mind. And we're gonna. It's gonna take a little time, but we'll figure this out.
I'm confident that we will, and I'm glad we're a part of it, as I said before. So, commissioners, without any further questions, all right. Thank you very much, Mr. Bates and Ms. Gallimore and Lieutenant Harris. We look forward to future updates and wish you all the best. And are you just saying goodbye, Commissioner Hansen, or do you? Okay. All right. Thank you, sir. Have a good afternoon.
See you later. Thank you.
All right. That's the last item on our agenda, commissioners. Enjoy the rest of the day, and we will see everybody bright and early tomorrow morning for our meeting with Meridian. So have a good afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you. Hello. I'm okay with the phone. I don't think it'll take us too long. I just